Welcome, everyone. What are the signs that we are healing with the Divine Feminine? Maybe let's start with definitions first before we go any further. So, what do I even mean by the Divine Feminine? Let me put it this way, from my perspective. So there is a source, the unmanifest, the divine, and I perhaps will not be using the word God for it because God has, especially in Christian countries, this connotation of a male God and good God. And also many people are quite allergic to it for various reasons. So we can set this concept aside for a while. And I rather see the source, the divine, as something beyond masculine and feminine, obviously, because God is not a man or a woman, for me at least, sitting in the sky, right, or sitting wherever it is, or sitting within me or without me, or so it's very much beyond any kind of polarity and any kind of definition. Now, for us living in this world, it is impossible to relate to such a conceptual, high-profile God, the unmanifest, the source. So we have to be a little bit more specific. And so kind of if you see it as the source pouring down, right, coming down through various pathways of manifestation, so then we get polarities, then we get definitions, and then we get, first of all, the masculine and the feminine streams, right? So the divine feminine is embodied in women, those who identify as women. The divine masculine would be embodied in men, or those who identify as men. And we can relate to that as a particular manifestation of the divine, right? And historically, in various cultures, we have representations of divine feminine as goddesses, for example. But all of us, men and women, have both male and female, let's say masculine and feminine aspects within us. So that's what I'm going to talk about, the divine feminine in the sense of this energy, this feminine energy within us, that manifestation, that pathway that comes down as feminine. In the physical body, it would be represented by the left side of the body. In the world of ideas or, feelings, emotions, concepts, the ways of being, it's receptive, it's passive, if you like, in a good sense. It draws in, it's dark, so the color would be black or dark. It is represented by the earth. It is represented by a circle, whereas the masculine I would represent it by a straight line. And it is represented by intuition, dreaming, intuitive insights, whereas the masculine would be represented by language, written, especially, so writing that requires putting ideas into order. From here, it's very easy to go down the path, well, then the feminine is disorderly, the masculine is orderly. That is not quite true because all the creation has order. But so when we talk about the divine feminine and healing the divine feminine, I talk about this feminine aspect, right, of the divine that we all have. So let's say both men and women have a left side to the body. And very often we find that, for example, within the physical body, our sides are imbalanced, right? Maybe the left side stretches further than the right side if you do yoga, or vice versa. So in terms of healing then, why do we even need to heal the divine feminine? Well, it's part of the times that we live in, where the feminine is rising, recovering, coming up. The Earth as a planet that I just said is connected to the divine feminine, maybe not on the planetary terms as such, we won't go in there, but in terms of Earth as fertile soil, right, where the seed falls, where it dies before it rises back to life. That is feminine essence. So it goes into the night, into darkness. Earth is going up in vibration, and it is related to also the rise of the divine feminine. I'm going to put links to some of the blog posts and commentaries that I wrote on the topic so that I don't go too much off track here. But all of it is connected. Think of the changes that happened for women in the past 100 years or so. Think of the changes that happened for our relationships and how we even understand relationships. And maybe the question is, we don't really know where we want to go from there. That's another big topic, but it has been in flux. In the past 100 years, the leap towards the rise, towards the healing of the feminine has been enormous, right? We started with giving a vote to women who couldn't vote before. In fact, in some countries, it came much, much later than in others, but that was all, it was just 100 years ago. Just 100 years ago. In our modern history, we're not talking about thousands of years back, but in our history, women could vote. Before that, they were property, in the Western world at least, connected to their fathers and then their husbands or brothers. So they need a guardian to accompany them. Maybe the original idea was wonderful. A woman embodies more of the divine than a man does. So a man has to put in conscious effort into aligning with the divine presence, but a woman already has it because she is more connected to the divine through the cyclical nature of her being, of her let's say cycles that she herself goes through, but also through the way the feminine brain works, and etc., etc. So it was understood always that a woman is more closely connected to the divine, but the practical expression it took in patriarchal societies was a little bit interesting, right? So lock her up and protect her and kind of infantilize her. So these things have been coming up for most in our society, and the leap we made in consciousness is phenomenal, right? If we compare it to the previous hundreds of years. And what we have now is that we talk about these things freely. We work through all the confusion and the chaos that happens, and we'll probably need some more decades, if not if not longer, to work things out. But that's part of from the higher perspective, this is part of the ascent of the feminine, of the rise of the feminine. So she descends and then she goes up. After a descent, there is a rise. And what is coming is not going to be like anything that has happened before. And so healing of the feminine is part of that. So healing of the feminine is part of this collective ascension, part of Earth ascension, part of building, embodying new templates on planet Earth. So it's a huge, huge, huge task. And a big chunk of it is healing the feminine within us. Healing for the ancestors, our feminine ancestors who felt disempowered and upset, right? And a woman's job is never done and everything is horrible. It would be better to be born a man. In fact, many advanced soul women embody more of the masculine than the feminine, because in past lives and in this lifetime, or however you like to look at it, they understood, right, that it's much easier to be a man. You get to success by being masculine, right, by kind of this more logical, more direct pathway. And part of this expression is that, well, it's not good to be a woman. It's disempowering, right? Oh, women are, second-rank citizen. Well, I want to be the first-rank citizen, right? So I'll try to be a man. What this creates is, of course, that energetically, the masculine reads this type of energy as a competitor. So advanced soul women also have a huge problem building stable relationships, because, right, instead of relating to the feminine, a man has to relate to a competitor, to another guy, basically, purely energetically. But we are energetic beings, and we read the energies of others, even if we claim, we don't, or if that we can't feel anything. But that's one of the issues that comes up. But to bring it a little bit more down to the ground, what are the signs that this healing of the divine feminine has started to happen for you in your own body and in your own lived experience, in your own life, right? In very practical matters. So I would say the first sign would be greater intuition, connecting to that intuitive part of the brain that does not want to figure everything out, but recognizes that, well, there are certain things that the logical mind cannot explain or express. I don't remember who said it, who actually, introduced that idea, but someone said that the advent of the written language was part of the demise of the feminine, let's say, of, coming into patriarchy, because written language is a very logical kind of, you have to think it through and formulate, right? And for various reasons, it influenced also the position of the feminine, even within our own brain. Because there are certain things, like, for example, dreams, right? Or meditative journeys, that you can't even express them. Well, let's say you had a spiritual revelation and it was something very profound, but when you try to explain it to others, either only banalities come out of your mouth, like, oh yes, I understood that we are all one, or, oh, plants are sentient beings too, or you start talking in riddles, right? It's like, oh, the 8 stars above the oak tree showed the 9 roots under the and it's like, yeah, right, okay. So, and it's not, I'm not saying written language is a bad thing, or or that we should stop talking or thinking, because you can't chop your body up in two and say, oh, the left side is good and the right side is bad, or the other way around, right? You can't. You need both sides of the body to function. You need these masculine and feminine energies and concepts and practices and masculine, feminine realities. They exist within us. They are inseparable. They can be at war with each other. But so today I'm talking about, well, what is the sign of healing that rejection of the feminine, healing the pain of the feminine specifically, right? So it doesn't mean that the masculine is bad, or that somehow, the feminine is better. But we have to separate it at something. We have to, like, in order to be able to talk about it. And even talking about it is not entirely a, purely feminine practice. So, but to go back to the feminine expression, right? So one of the signs of starting to heal the feminine would be a greater connection to that intuitive part of ourselves, to intuition, to dreams, and to recognizing that not everything needs to be explained or classified into words, right? If I have a meditative awareness of something, if I received a realization, or if I saw that, wow, how everything is connected, so that's it. Or if I'm connecting more deeply to the intuition. As another kind of turning this around, feeling very disconnected from intuition, from receptivity, having, this anxiety and the desire to control everything is a sign that feminine is not healed and is crying out for healing. Another sign of healing the divine feminine would come, from my perspective, it would come from this imagery of the feminine as a circle rather than a straight line. So there is two things about the circle. One is that it's empty inside, so we can place that divine source, the nameless one, the unmanifest, in the center. And the other is connection. A circle is infinite, right? It doesn't end. It's infinity. It's the sign. Well, the sign of infinity consists of two kind of circles, right? Or two drops in the ocean. So the feminine is also very much about connection. It's exactly this experience of interconnectedness, of seeing how one thing is connected to another. Perhaps the more rational part of our brain would say, oh, well, a table is a table, a chair is a chair, and, a rabbit is a rabbit, and a tree is a tree. But that more feminine flow, more intuitive flow would recognize that all of it is made of matter, of vibration, that trees connect to each other through root networks, that in fact we have come from plants because all the food that we eat originated from the earth, from the plants directly, right? Either we eat plants or we eat animals who have eaten plants, and etc. And these plants themselves, they communicate with each other, maybe not as fast and not as direct as we humans communicate. But we recognize that, oh, the roots of the tree mirror the crown of the tree, and the root network and the branch network, it mirrors our lungs. You may have seen those images, right? How lungs are closely resembling the structure of the roots and the crowns of the tree. So we recognize that there is this intelligent design, and that in fact, reality is not as disjoint as we had previously thought it to be, that everything is connected. That's another sign of healing the feminine. And from that, of course, comes creativity, comes inspiration, comes the capacity to channel art, images, forms, music. From that comes interconnectedness and drawing people together. So that circle, it means there is connection, right? So a healed, or let's say a healing feminine, would experience a sense of connectedness, not just with nature and trees and plants and whatever there is, but also with other people. That's a huge issue that calls for healing, because for many women, let's say they've been trained to be nice and to please everyone. And so when they first come into their power, they feel a need to become bitches and to tell everyone, no, I'm not going to smile, F off, no smiling. And to tell everyone, no, I'm just to learn to say no can be a huge milestone, and it may be the goal of your life, the whole mission you have in this lifetime, to learn to say no, to set boundaries, to say, oh no, I'm not a good girl, and I'm not going to work for free, and I'm not going to whatever it is, right? I'm not going to be nice, and I'm not going to smile, and I'm not going to look pretty, and I'm not going to put makeup on, and I'm not going to put nice clothes on, or whatever it is. It can be all, the most important thing for the next 10 years. And it is important. But ultimately, a healed feminine brings that sense of interconnectedness. And I don't necessarily mean, singing kumbaya and holding hands around a tree. That's not really the feminine I have in mind. But it's probably also important as a stage, but that's not the end goal. But what I'm talking about is rather that sense of recognizing that, okay, well, we are all connected. Even if what I heal something for myself, because I within me carry the genes, the energies, the expression, the genetic expression, the cellular, the energetic expression of my ancestors. So whatever I heal for myself, I heal for my ancestors. And the people I am connected with, how, for example, where I live, it's a fairly small place. And I've often noticed that, okay, well, I thought, oh, let's say I started fasting, or I stopped drinking alcohol. And so, wow, I'm the only one here. And then suddenly 5 or 6 people that I meet have been sharing that, oh, now I'm like fasting, let's say twice a week, or, oh, I haven't been drinking for like 3 months or whatever. Just random examples, or whatever, right? I started going to the gym, or now I don't do something, or now I do something. And you notice that, oh, he wasn't just me, right? I haven't invented it. We are all somehow connected beyond any tangible ways that we can recognize or understand. Like trees communicating through roots, we also communicate through energetic pathways that we don't see, but we've all come to the same realization, right? And let's say everyone started fasting twice a week, for example, or not fasting twice a week. So it is that sense, appreciation of interconnectedness. Now, what else can we put in here? It's coming into power. Most, I would say and think, most women now are working on personal power. There's been a lot of healing coming up in relation to that. Personal power would mean different things also for different women. But we could say also for men, because as I mentioned, this is not just about women. As women, we embody the feminine and the physical bodies, but the energy of it is the same. Everybody has a left side of the body, or everybody has access to intuition. Everybody is connected. Everybody dreams. It is that sense of even reevaluating our power templates. Power is not putting on big boots and stomping over others, right? Power is something else. So even understanding what it means to have personal power, or maybe recognizing how disempowered we have been, right? So for example, some aspects that come to my mind in relation to this. Expecting others to tell you what to do, or if you are on a spiritual path, expecting guides or high beings or readers or healers to tell you what to do. What should I do? And then wondering, oh, why can't I connect to my spirit? Why can't I connect to my spirit guides? Most likely what is happening is you are very well connected to your spirit guides. It's just that they're not telling you what to do because no one can. But the disempowerment runs so deep, right? It's so ingrained in the cells and the brain and the energy that you kind of expect, oh, someone has to tell me what to do. And the problem is no one is ever going to. Of course, people can tell you, yes, go there. But if your time has come to, go left instead of right, for example, or whatever, right? Take this job. If the time has come for you to step into your power, you will notice that the advice of other people doesn't even work anymore. So whenever I ask them to tell me what to do, it doesn't add up. Or for example, they say, oh, yes, in 2 months, 2 weeks, 2 years, you will move, you will get the job, you will come into a relationship. And it never happens. But that's because on the, from the perspective of reality, from this spiritual reality that is actually there, no one can tell you what to do. No guides will tell you what to do. If you have spirit guides that and not some entities, they are not going to tell you, do that. They can suggest or warn or even show the consequences of an action, but you yourself have to take action, right? But sometimes we end up disempowered at such a deep level that we can't seem to fathom it. There's, someone has to tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. And it's a sign of very deep disempowerment that needs a lot of healing, right? On various levels. But so that's one thing that comes up in relation to power, to sovereignty. Power is not saying, oh, I don't need anyone. I can, whatever, pump my own gas, right? Fix my own tires, screw in a light bulb. It may or may not be. Actually, feminine power, one of the energies that comes through in terms of feminine power, specifically like for women, is actually saying, oh, no, I can't screw in a light bulb by myself. Can somebody help me? Because, many women have been programmed by history, society, and etc., to give, right? Mother always gives, is always there for her children, comes from work, cooks dinner, cleans. Husband comes home, or maybe if she's home, husband comes home, right? She needs to please the husband. Always be there for the children, like be the superwoman. And now she also has to screw in her own light bulbs and pump her own gas. And then, of course, what happens is that, well, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to. I don't want to be a superwoman. I don't want to combine the successful man and a beautiful woman and God knows what, and be a god and goddess in one person, right? It's too much. And it's true, it's too much. Why? And men can sit down and relax, and women run around with anxiety, right? Oh, this is not washed, this is not cleaned, this is not perfect. Right. So then the only solution is to, I don't know, whatever, right? Drink a glass of wine or leave everyone and just start living alone. And it's not good or bad. It's just kind of an expression of what is happening in terms of personal power, learning how to be powerful. What does it even mean? So one of the energies that can come in and actually help connect with feminine power, and especially magnetism and attraction, is to say, no, I can't do it by myself. I need help. And this does not necessarily have to come through in relation to the men in your life, but to the universe, to the divine. to become feminine in relation to the universe. I can't. I need help. Help me. I can't do everything by myself. For example, I need money, or I need to whatever, fix my car or repair the apartment or paint the walls. And I sit back and I say, I can't. God, source, universe, divine masculine, I can't. I can't do it by myself. Help me. Be that blonde on a gas station who can't pump her own gas in relation to the universe, and see what happens. It's actually fun. Embodying that receptivity, saying, look, I don't have to carry the whole earth on my shoulders. My power comes from my capacity to enchant, right? My capacity to receive. Can I seduce the universe into helping me? That can also be power. So again, there is a reevaluation of power and what it means, because a power does not have to be pushing and shoving and hustling, and there is time for that more yang, more masculine power, but even understanding that, I can step back, relax, and allow things to come to me. That can be one of the expressions of coming into power. Okay, well, maybe some of these things I said were self-evident, and maybe some of them brought up a lot of questions or realizations that, I'm not healed at all, right? Where do I go from here? Well, the good news is this is collective. So all of us are going through this healing of the feminine in some form or another. And some of it is probably for the rest of our lives. And some of this healing that we can do for ourselves very practically, right? Like there are deeper elements such as ancestral healing, for example, healing the wounds of the feminine and so on. But some of the very practical aspects would be, I'd say, number one would be connecting with nature. And don't get me wrong, because if you are anything like me, using the phrase spend time in nature as an answer to how should I heal would, for me, it raises up a lot of resistance and anger, to be honest. Yeah, right. Spend time in nature. Yes, I have whatever, anxiety or depression, or I feel disempowered, and you're telling me to go spend time in nature. So I'd go a little bit deeper with that. And so, yes, of course, nature is healing and wonderful. But if we are in serious trouble, then it's not enough, right? And then spending time in nature means different things for different people. And you can be very disempowered and spend all your time in nature. But I would say approaching nature as not disconnected from us, but as I was going to say a part of us, but in reality, we are a part of nature. So spending time recognizing the patterns in nature, what I said about the root network and our lungs, the root network and the cords and ties that we form to other people, how we communicate, or for example, what I said about let's say men reading you as a masculine competitor rather than as a feminine who they can support and protect, for example. And there's nothing wrong with that. That sense, that energetic connection, even for people who say, no, I don't feel anything at all. In reality, they do feel. They will find a partner, whether romantic or business, that is aligned with them or their wounds exactly the way it has to be. So everyone has a connection to the energy. Everyone has these networks, only for us, they are energetic networks, but recognizing this is part of nature. That's nature, if you like, is an expression, that physical expression of this divine source, as we talked about. And it's very healing for the feminine as well. So spending time in nature consciously, recognizing that nature is not like whatever, going for a hike in the woods or growing flowers or sunbathing or whatever it is. But consciously connecting to nature, consciously connecting to the plants, the networks, the sun, the earth. So going deeper with that interconnectedness, recognizing that, in fact, we can see the divine in every rock, in every leaf, right? In every gust of wind, in the moon, in the sun, and how it interacts. And then the next step is meditation, kind of flowing out of it. Now, there are also many different ways to meditate. You don't have to meditate to separate yourself from the world. You can meditate to connect. For example, listen to sounds. Have a meditation that has a focus of listening. So rather than trying to shut out the sounds, or like, oh, there is a bird singing, it interferes with my meditation. Well, that's definitely a sign of seriously unhealed feminine, right? Turning it around and spending your meditation time listening attentively to every sound. There's wind, there's birds, there's cars honking, there is the floor creaking, cats meowing, dogs barking, stomach rumbling, right? Joints creaking, whatever there is. Listening. So for 10 minutes, for example, you listen to everything you can hear. Just listen. And notice then after 10 minutes, what happens? Or for example, meditate on connecting to Earth or connecting to the moon or the stars, right? So rather than pushing apart, because the unhealed masculine, and again, healing the masculine is a whole other topic. The unhealed masculine has always seen itself as separate, right? And then as having to somehow perfect the reality, like, I'm going to disconnect everything from everything. I'm going to what would be the word? To civilize, yes, to civilize the earth, civilize the people, civilize the unruly waters, or whatever it is. There is a time for that, because, for example, if you're growing a garden, you know that you have to civilize it a little bit in the sense of weeding it out, for example, if you want something to grow. But if that one goes unchecked, if that one is unhealed, then you just throw everything out, right? And fill it up with concrete. And that's also what happens in many places. You just put concrete everywhere, and there you go, nice, clean, and civilized. And so we've been civilizing the earth and the peoples and so on, and that's a whole different story. But it needs balance, right? So when both are unhealed, when both the masculine and the feminine are unhealed, so there is unfortunately complete chaos. There is you either sit and sing Kumbaya 24/7, or you pour concrete over everything and civilize all the uncivilized peoples, and we are where we are. But so working with that connectedness to the elements also through meditation, right? Through connecting to nature, through recognizing and gratitude as well. And then consciously working on developing intuition on creativity, finding a creative talent, finding a creative hobby is also one of the ways of healing the feminine, of working with the feminine. And then to go deeper, then of course we have ancestral healing and healing the wounds of the feminine, healing at the soul level, working with the soul blueprint directly. That's kind of more of the work that I do in my healing sessions. But I think that's enough in terms of general information. So I'm going to post some links to other posts and podcasts that I've written if you're interested in the topic. And otherwise, I'm just going to wish you a wonderful day and thank you so much for listening. Hope it was helpful.